Page 27, Song of the Bee. On page 26, they're giving you some information. I don't know. I usually explain this when I'm explaining sharps and flats, but I can't remember what I've explained now anyway. So let me give you the spiel right quick. And I suggest you sit down and brace yourself here. Every key on the piano, white or black, no matter what it is, every key on the piano has multiple names. Isn't that lovely? Just when you thought you figured out the names here, they've all got multiple names. However, it makes sense. So give you a chance to recover a little bit, and we'll move on and see if we can make some sense out of this. Let's take, for instance, this note. Okay. Well, it could be a G sharp. It could be an A flat. Could be either one on piano. Now, technically, those two notes are not exactly the same. They're a little off on the pitches, but the way the piano is tuned, that's the best we can do. It's just two. So every black key is a sharp or a flat based on the keys next to it. However, the white keys, this is the good part. When you have two together, it's simple because if I have an F and I want an F flat, and there is such a thing, I go down one note white or black on the keyboard, I get this. I go down a half step. So that note, it not only is an E, but it is also an F flat. Or the other way, if I have a B, if I want a B sharp, I go up a half step. Next note here. So that note is not only a C, it is a B sharp. It has to do with harmony and keeping in with the chords and whether the note is needed for the chord or not. It has to do with enharmonics and all, getting into heavy-duty music theory here. Just go with me on this. They have multiple names. So you're thinking, okay, what about this note? It has multiple names. How can that be? Because it can't be a B flat, because that's a B flat, and it can't be a G sharp, because that's a G sharp. So what's the multiple name here? Okay, hang on. The only accidentals we've had so far is the sharp, the flat, and the natural. When they're introduced in the music, they're accidentals. They're not the only accidentals there are. There are more. For instance, I can have a double sharp or a double flat. It has to do with harmony and keeping within the chords and all that. And diminished seventh chords use double flats a lot. It's just go with me. It happens. So if I have a B and I want a B flat, I'm going to go down a half step. But if it's a double flat, I got to go down another half step. So that note is a B double flat. Because I have two flats. In other words, I went down a whole step for double flat. We haven't had double flats yet, but you may get them someday. Or a double sharp, works the same way going up. This could be a G sharp is here, but a G double sharp now goes up here. So that is an A, or a B double flat, or a G double sharp. It's got three names. That's about it. And they all work the same way. So you see, they all got multiple names. Don't let it bug you too much. Just play the notes in the music. As you get into composing and arranging things and you need to understand the theory, that's when you get into it. But you're going to need a better book than this one, because this book doesn't teach theory much. You need to get into the other books, theory books and stuff like that, to really understand the theory for it. Now let's talk about what this B is doing on page 27. It is one page long. The music is, not the B. Treble and bass clef, three sharps in the key signature, so we're in the key of A major. Make sure you go do the A major scale and the A major arpeggio. You've heard this lecture before, blah, blah, blah. Okay. 2/4 time now. So these 16th notes are back into the 1-eanda, 2-eanda category. Now we have chromatic passages, as you can see with all these accidentals. Right hand first, they want you to go here on F, and then an E sharp. We already talked about this, right? And F sharp, F natural, E. You're just going up. That's it. They could have put in, at the beginning, an E and then an F natural. They'd need a natural sign. But then they got to put in a sharp sign for the next one. Besides, remember, chromatic passages go up. Generally, we'll add sharps, and going down, there'll be flats. And that's another reason we E to E sharp. So it's here. Don't forget the C sharp. It's in the, all of these are in the key signature. Yeah. Second line is the same. Reach up. Keep your thumb down here. You're gonna need it. Now, second line, third measure. Now we got to come up. Here, that's fine. And you do that some more. Last line. Where you're ending the fourth line here, you lift up and move. Well, actually, I'd like to prepare that. I don't want to have to go from here to here. If I could get my hand a little closer, it would help. So if I could do some other finger besides 4, one of these other fingers, like a 2, that would get me a little closer to where I want to go. Not much, but a little bit. So third line, fourth line, third measure, a lot of numbers there, isn't it? Here, I could scrunch up and use 2. Now I'm a little closer to where I want to be. Here. It's up to you. It's a personal thing. If you want to just go ahead and use 4 and lift up and move, that works too. But I prefer to, I just like to not move my hand any further than I have to. So when I can adjust the fingering that gets me closer to where I want to be, I do that too. So here, and then I come up. And then again, here in the last line on the A, I got to come up here to a C and an A, or C sharp and an A. So if I could get closer to here in the second measure, rather than here, maybe I can use thumb. So it's here. And now I can just reach up, because that's the chord. That's an A chord, an A major chord. I'm not using the E, I'm not. Here, and then down, and then down. I'm using the same fingers, 2, 5, 2, 5, 2, 5. And I'm doing 2, 5 rather than 1, 5 because I don't want to be up in here. I'm out here. It's up to you. If you want to use 1 and 5 in those, you go ahead, but I don't recommend it. Left hand. The left hand, fortunately, isn't doing a lot because the right hand's busy. You're just here, and you're holding that down for 2 measures. Again, for 2 measures. Second line, it's here. Now, if you'd like to be a little closer to this, then use 3 and 2 for the first line. This way, you're closer to the second line here when you go here. It's up to you. I can get them all more or less in one hand position. And that takes me down to the last line where now it's treble clef in the bottom step. I'm up here. Same notes up here. And then they give you another treble clef. That's an error. You don't need a treble clef there in the bottom there, in the middle of the bottom staff, last line. You don't need a treble clef. You're already treble clef. You got treble clef at the beginning of the line. You're here. You don't need another one. Just go. Stay here and do 3, 1, and then and here. The reason 3, 1 is I'm spread out a little more, but I'm not moving as far. When I go from here to here, my hand is from here to here. Where I go here, I'm up here to here. I'm further away. So 3, 1, and I do a 5, 2 here. You can do a 1 if you want to, but I do a 5, 2. And then come down again, 3, 1, and then a 5 for the last note, which is 3 ledger lines below the staff. On the last note, you should know that note. 2 ledger lines is a C, you should know that, and 3 is an A, so it's an A. So then we try and put the hands together and see what kind of a mess we have. 1 E and a 2 E and a 1. See, the left hand is just holding it down. The second line, you're here. That's basically what it is. The last line is a little tricky. You're ending the fourth line here. Then both hands have to move here. Oh, that'll be fun. Just lift up and move. You may have to practice that because there's no rest or anything. You lift up and move. You got to know where you're going. To here. Just practice that. And then the last 2 measures, again, both hands are moving. Here, here, to here, to here. See, the right hand's playing the same notes. The left hand isn't. It's going from here to here. Those are different. So you have to memorize the last two measures. That shouldn't be too difficult because you got to be looking at the keyboard on this moving around. Now, once you have the hands sort of working together, then go back through it very slowly and get rid of the hesitations. So it's a steady beat throughout. You got to think one ienda, two ienda throughout the whole thing. Because if you don't, the half notes, you won't hold them down a full 2 counts. You'll cheat. You'll just do it short. So think one ienda, two ienda, even with the whole notes here, to keep a steady pace going. Then the articulation, well, this is connected, but you got staccatos in the right hand. Just flex the wrist, stop. So just add in these staccatos and slurs, okay. The left hand connected as best you can. You sort of have 2 measure phrases built in. So you're lifting up, lift up, like taking a breath. Yeah, every couple of measures you're doing that with both hands there. Then the dynamics, MF, mezzo forte, and that's for the melody, which is the right hand. Whatever you think sort of loud is, this needs to be in the background. And you're staying there until the last 2 measures where you go up to loud, and this is both hands here. These are just chords. Here, here. That's fine. You're just playing them loud. Not super loud, just loud. Well, if you get into it and you get to feeling it, you might change the dynamic slightly. You know, it's a... I tend to want to land on that as a... here I am. So it's like a statement and a reply. Remember those? Have I talked about those recently? Statement. Reply. Statement. Reply. So I'm kind of crescendoing through the statement because I feel it, and the reply I'm coming off. That's shaping the phrases. That's interpretation. It's up to you on how you choose to do it. Music doesn't say anything, so how do you feel it? Then the speed, well, allegretto. That's what I call the fun speed. It's between moderato and allegro. Have fun. It's the feel of it. It's not the beat. So what on these 16th notes, what are those? How fast can you be accurate with those? And that's going to be your speed. Just keep the whole thing at one steady speed throughout. Well, keep in mind when you're moving around, careful, don't be going too fast because you can't be messing up the moving around. Now, at the bottom, the last 2 measures, they're giving pedal. Okay, if you want, I suppose. You don't need pedal. You can just do it fine if you practice. But it connects them. It's going to be overlapping pedal, not what they're showing here. So I'm going to push the notes, pedal down right after play the notes, hold it down, and then change it and lift it up. Now that's all they're doing with the pedal. And that's what you want to do, go ahead. I'm not going to show pedal in the lesson because that's all they're doing. You're just doing it for 2 measures and it's overlapping. Now be careful here because they can change things and, you know, I don't know if it's intentional or not, but whatever it is. Look at the 3rd line. In the left hand, they're not tied. The only time they're tied is the first 1.5 lines. So you have to play them again in the 3rd line, but try and connect them throughout the whole piece. Try and connect them. Now, please don't copy me. You get into the music and you feel it and you make it yours. You don't have to go that speed. You experiment with the dynamics. Have some fun with it.